One of the principal objectives of the Z Zurich Foundation is the promotion of peace. And to discuss how one of the projects they support is providing new opportunities for refugee communities, will you please welcome a real hero, Gary Shaughnessy, and with him the founder and CEO of EqualReach, Giselle Gonzales.
How are you? Good morning, everyone. Gosh, that's quiet. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, thank you. My wife's a teacher, and she'd be proud of me for the fact that I do what most teachers do in these situations. We've heard already today about the 123 million people across this planet who've been forcibly relocated or moved from their homes, their jobs, their security, their friends, and their level of certainty. I'm not going to talk about philanthropy. I'm going to talk about business. So if you think this is a session about being kind to those individuals and giving them a chance to deliver despite not having the standard of product or service that would be available in the other markets where there aren't wars and displacement, that's not what this is about. So if that's what you want, I think there's another presentation later on in the afternoon. This is a presentation and a story about quality of talent and the fact that we can provide services with that talent to businesses and markets that need those capabilities and have a shortage of them. Giselle, it's great to see you back after last year. It was wonderful, the work that you've done with the foundation. But could you just explain what EqualReach is about, please?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm the founder of EqualReach, and we're a freelancing marketplace connecting refugee talent around the world with dignified digital work. So think of a fair trade version of a freelancing marketplace like Upwork or Fiverr, but with a responsible sourcing framework that protects rather than exploits one of the world's most marginalized community, and a team-based approach to make that happen. My story getting into this space actually began in Germany 10 years ago. I was a freelancer myself, and when there was that mass migration of Syrian refugees from Greece to Germany, I followed that same route with people documenting the realities of displacement. And that was the first time I had ever encountered what it was really like, and the individual stories rather than all of what we heard in the media. And I realized the skills, the dreams, the hopes of the individuals were exactly the same as mine, wanting to build a life of purpose with work that mattered. And when people would get to their host countries, work was often the hardest part of getting reestablished and rebuilding your life. And so I took all of this, I started researching this emergence of digital work among refugees, but found that there were so many invisible barriers that exist. And when I transitioned into working in tech at a Fortune 5 company, I found myself managing the very types of projects that refugees struggled to access, and realized that these were two sides of the same coin. There was a market failure in excluding and overlooking incredible untapped potential of displaced talent around the world. And yet there was a role for business to play, not just governments and philanthropy. And so 2 years ago, I left a comfortable corporate job to start EqualReach because I believed that we could build something better, and all that was needed was a bridge to connect these worlds.
That's brilliant as a concept, but bring it to life for me. Give me an example.
Sure. So our very first project that we did with EqualReach was for a startup in London. It was creating their first revenue-generating part of their business with a small tech team out of Kenya, Uganda, and Ethiopia. And one of the developers on that project, her name is Susan, she grew up in Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya. She grew up there for 20 years of her life. She had done an MIT software development micro-master's program. She had the skills. She loved game development. She was brilliant. And yet, she was just seen as a beneficiary, someone in need of a handout. And yet, when we got this project for her, it was a $10,000 project for this team. She hopped on the first call, and the client was speaking to her as the expert in the room. He was saying, "You tell me what to do. You're the one that has the knowledge. What do we need to build?" And just the power dynamic shift of all of a sudden, she had a new identity. She was seen for her skills, not just for her circumstance, which honestly was the least interesting thing about her. She then used that money, and having worked then for the next year of contracts that we were able to connect her with because the quality of her work was so good, to then create her own company where she teaches game developers within Kakuma refugee camp how to code and develop. And so she is now a job creator herself with the income that started just as a freelancing project.
Again, that's great, but I'm sure what people will ask is, how do you really make this work, though? Because you've got people in refugee camps, you've got issues around compliance, around data, around just the infrastructure that we all take for granted in our business lives on an ongoing basis. How do you make that, how do you overcome that issue in terms of getting talent to the people who need it?
Yeah, I think because I come from a business background, being in those rooms where that was debated of, oh, well, sending work to refugees, that seems too risky, so we're not even going to touch that. I built backward from that business case of how do we make this as easy as possible. So we work in a team-based structure. One of the other challenges in the digital economy and the highest risks of exploitation is for marginalized communities who don't have a collective voice. There is individuals competing with 16 million other freelancers out there. And so we take a B2B approach. We partner with refugee-led and supporting organizations. These are groups that are social enterprises, refugee-led businesses that know their own context. They know the local tax, compliance, legal structures. They know the talent. They're providing the infrastructure and the mentorship, career development. So then when we bring a project their way, they know, oh, I know the best, UX designer to add on this project, or the best graphic designer. And individuals who are maybe just getting trained up can join and basically apprentice under more experienced individuals on a project. So you have this collective knowledge and this collective bargaining power that we're seeing teams, they're earning 4 to 10 times higher wages than the highest paying local alternatives because collectively they're stronger than doing it alone.
And is this just about price? Because you said what people are earning. Is it price or is it quality?
It's quality. And I think that's the reframing that we need to make. When I talk to someone in a boardroom and say, refugees have talent that we are overlooking, why are you not considering them as your service providers? I think there's a stigma that people have about a refugee being only a single story of someone sitting in a refugee camp in a tent with no access to a laptop. But really, that is oversimplifying it. And there are world-class designers, technologists that we are overlooking if we don't make sure they are included with economic opportunities just like you and I.
So, Giselle, what would you say to the marketing directors in the room here who are thinking, yeah, that's all very good, but how am I going to pitch this to my board, to my colleagues, and how am I going to make sure that what I've proposed doing doesn't rebound on me and my reputation?
Yeah. I've been in your shoes, and I'll tell you something really simple. Big isn't good unless big does good. Okay? And when I started working in tech, to be honest, I never wanted to be there. I thought purpose was working at, an NGO or a grassroots organization. And I came to my team on a pilot structure, and I said, look, you can fire me if this goes wrong, but I believe that this is going to work if we send the project-based work that we have to teams. And it started on a pilot. That's where you have to start. Take one project, something that you can give to just test and show the results, show that to your team, and I guarantee you, trust for our organization is our most important currency, and I guarantee you that talent is there, and they are ready and eager to prove what they can do. This is not a side CSR initiative. This is treating the individuals around the world that have these skills as assets to your business, not liabilities.
So could you share a random example that may be related to me and the business of the foundation, and why it works from a corporate perspective?
Sure.
From that
Sure. So Z Zurich Foundation, actually, they submitted a project through our platform to do this very thing. It started as a pilot. Let's see if this is actually good. And they have a new consortium that they're building out in Latin America to promote youth employment and entrepreneurship. And they need a brand, so they're partnering with groups like Accenture, EY, AWS, Accor Hotels, and a number of local nonprofits. So they needed a brand identity and a logo. They sent it to us. We matched them with a number of teams, a Palestinian marketing team, a team in Uganda, and they chose this team in Uganda, and what they've been able to develop is world-class logos and brand identity that are going to be launching soon with this brand new consortium. And my favorite part was hearing back from the team saying, how did we not know about this sooner? These are world-class marketers that we are blown away by the quality of work. And I think it's just the beginning, hopefully.
Okay, next challenging question or issue, I guess, is this just a minority part of a business? So can you scale up? Can you deliver on the sorts of numbers that would actually deal with the issue that we've got and the opportunity that we've got at the same time?
I would argue no. Again, we've seen with different administrations coming and going, if you put something as just a nice-to-have CSR, sustainability initiative, and not as a core part of your business as strategy, it's something that when a new leader comes in, it can be quickly swept aside. We want to integrate refugee talent within businesses, again, because they deserve to be there. And I have a challenge to everyone in this room. To make this really actionable, if every leader in this room redirected just 10% of your everyday project and service spend to refugee communities, we're talking about millions of dollars that we can direct to communities that are on the margins that deserve to be at the forefront. And simple math here. Let's say everyone in this room has an annual budget of $50,000. I know for some of the massive companies, you're going to go through that literally in a day. But some of the grassroots organizations, that might feel like a ton. But let's say $50,000 for everyone here. 10% of that budget would be $5,000 each. We have over 2,000 people attending One Young World. So collectively, just with the young leaders here, we could catalyze $10 million of opportunities, not charity, but opportunities to refugee communities around the world. And I'm going to get a little cheeky here, but if you guys want to do that, it starts with going and building the business case with your team, or submitting a project through EqualReach, or if you have a local team that you already know of and you work with, like submitting a project directly to them or bringing them on as a vendor. And can I just get a raise of hands? Like, if you will go back and talk to your teams about using your procurement spend for good, can you please join us in this commitment? 10% is all of what it takes, and you could catalyze millions of dollars. USAID, those cuts, make a big difference. Thank you, guys. Yes, you're in too. Thank you. 10% makes a difference. Yeah, we have the power in this room. With the way that you grow your business, you can drive change. That's how we 2x the business and social case of growing our businesses and using business as a force for good.
That's brilliant. I guess I would finish by saying, for the people who didn't put their hands up, I'd like to know why. Because you need to tell us why, because we need to understand how we overcome those concerns and deliver to them. But I would secondly say, from the Foundation's point of view, we were still a bit concerned when we came up with the brief, and Giselle's team delivered superbly. And to have an organisation working, headquartered in Switzerland, operating in South America, and supported by talent that we find difficult to get hold of, but from it, Uganda, has been superb. And as you'd imagine with someone like us, doing it safely and securely has been the icing on the cake. So thank you, Giselle. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.